Dr. Pilch, we're looking at the next item, which is the revision to policy ADF, School Wellness and Regulation, ADF-R, School Wellness. And I hadn't noticed, but Ms. Brea provided a correct and complete copy, a hard copy for each of us as it went out. It didn't include the one point at the very top. So you're looking at a hard copy as the complete final regulation. And Dr. Pilch, do you mind directing any comments or questions, or
I'm happy to, thank you.
Providing filler here?
I'm happy, thank you. So what you have here in front of you is a revision to existing policy, and we're doing this tonight because it is a requirement of a federal regulation. It comes down to us as part of the work that has been done in relation to the USDA. You'll see the wellness policy tonight as well as our nutrition policy tonight. Both are revised policies, and Jeremy West, our Director of Nutrition Services, has worked with his staff, and his staff have worked with the Wellness Committee. I think Dr. Richard just attended a meeting of theirs last week, and I'm pleased to welcome Jeremy to the podium and let him take it from here.
Thank you, Dr. Pilch and President DeWitt and members of the Board of Education, and thank you for this opportunity to present these updates on Board Policy ADF and Regulation ADF-R that addresses school wellness. The revised policy and regulation in front of you reflects the efforts of the District 6 Student Wellness Policy Committee and our wellness teams, which are based in our schools, and also our wellness team that works out of the service center in an effort to provide an environment that promotes wellness for all students. And we feel like that is just another piece of the puzzle to creating a successful student in District 6 is paying attention to their wellness. And so we thank you for your time this evening to look at this. Recent regulatory changes from the USDA have required revisions to the existing policy and regulation to bring them into compliance, and additional revisions were made to move all nutrition standard information into policy EFEA, which will be presented next.
Thank you very much. This is an action item, and on page 7 of your agenda, you'll take a look at that motion. I'd be glad to entertain that at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the revisions to policy ADF, School Wellness and Regulation, ADF-R, School Wellness, as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Additional comments, or Dr. Pilch, or should we open that to questions from?
I just have one thing to add, if I may, Mr. DeWitt. So one of the things you see here is the plan for the wellness in the district, and it is very typical of what we will see in the future as we go forward with strategic planning, where a department has worked very hard to have a wellness plan, and you'll see the same with the nutrition when we get to the nutrition as well. So I just want to recognize them again. It's some of the tremendous strengths that I'm finding here in District 6, where our staff are very thorough and very capable, and just really do a very professional job. And you know, I bring my outside eyes in, and I see what's happening here in District 6, and I couldn't be happier with the work that's going on in Mr. West's department and his leadership there.
I think we are all of one mind with respect to that, but thank you for pointing that out. Mr. Avery.
Mr. West, thank you to you and your staff for doing this, and we'd all be much healthier if we all followed this daily, and that'd be awesome. And you know, I do have one comment. I know that Mr. Eads deserves credit with bringing back vitamin D time, and I would personally like to see us up that time even more. You can call it recess, you can call it moon time, I don't care what we call it, but have them outside running around and working playing with one another. And I think that's a positive thing that I hope that as a district we look into more and more. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Avery. Other comments or questions, board members? It has been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Brandt, please.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next item is revision to policy EFEA, Nutritious Food Choices. And it is another action item, and I'd be glad to receive that motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve the revisions to policy EFEA, Nutritious Food Choices, as presented.
Second.
Thank you very much. Mr. West, or may I direct
Yes, please
Mr.
do.
West to take over?
Great. Thank you again, President DeWitt, Superintendent Pilch, and members of the board. So policy EFEA, as you can see, was pretty much scrapped and we started over. A lot of that information was contained in the ADF and the ADF-R policy. So policy EFEA was revised to capture all of the nutrition standard information previously held in regulation ADF-R and reflects the regulatory changes required by USDA. The revised policy now brings the district into compliance with USDA's Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act.
And there is a little matter of receiving federal funds in association with following federal regulation. Is that not?
Comes with a very large regulation manual.
Well, thank you for having someone nearby to be reading that for us to maintain our standards and to maintain our alliance with expected policy. Comments, Dr. Richard?
So with the enactment of this policy, are there major changes that will need to occur, or are we pretty well there already?
These are changes that we have been working on since the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act came into effect in 2010, and so we have met those regulations. We just needed to get our policy to catch up with our work.
Always good, always good. Thank you.
Mr. Richardson?
So I know we had talked a little bit briefly about this. I know I talked to Dr. Pilcher about this, but I think that the effort was to give ourselves as much leeway as possible in having our own autonomy on what to serve and when. I know the USDA has their own thoughts in mind, but I think that this was crafted in a way to give us the most freedom as possible without violating the federal mandate. Is that correct?
That is correct. We did want to pay attention to that and really make sure that we were meeting the regulation but not overreaching.
Freedom and the money.
Great, thank you.
I don't see any other comments at this point. It's been moved.
Mr. DeWitt, may I?
Please.
So we do have a visit from USDA this month where they will be here on site visiting our schools and visiting the centralized kitchen, I'm sure. And so it's great that we have this policy coming forward, and we'll have it in place, I assume. It'll pass tonight. We'll have it in place when the USDA comes in later this month.
I think they're going to be pleased because we've seen these classes and we've seen the facility that produces this food. So we're glad to have them to be able to demonstrate what we're up to. I think that's very exciting. Thanks for the information. It has been moved and seconded. I see no other comments. Roll call, Ms. Brand?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 6-0.
Mr. West, please thank your staff for us. Carry that word.
And thank you for my kale tonight.
She means
No, thank you.
We're not voting
She's
on
not
the
talking, she's not talking from me.
Well, before it becomes unpleasant, let me thank you for attending your Weld County School District 6 Board of Education meeting. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
We adjourn on kale.